Tuning you in now to the LBX show with your host, Brandon Wiley. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire.
Well, welcome everybody to the LBX show for April 13th. This is number 24. I'm your host, Brandon Wiley, and look, we have a great show. It's a packed show ready for you today. So we're going to start with latest openings and closings with Kevin Williams and Open and Shut. And myself, I'll also be joining. We'll have some commentary on some of the top 10 openings that we really liked. And then we'll have promo pro tips with Chuck DeMonte about the top 6 things that you should expect and look for in a marketing firm. And then we're going to hear from Adam Pratt on Arcade Corner. He's actually going to break down the latest news about Genda and Player One. He'll also cover some other arcade news as well, but that's probably going to be the big topic. And then Kevin and I jam out on a special guest Gab segment where we discuss the impact of tariffs on our industry. And then, believe it or not, finally, we actually wrap with a crowd question about self-serve redemption from our special guest, Justin Michaels from Intercard. So, all right. With that being said, let's get ready with some news you should know. All right. Well, so I recently came across, I'm not going to talk about the venue. I'm going to say the venue's name or where it's located, but I recently came across a bowling alley that decided that they wanted to add in some mini golf. And so basically the reason they landed on this is that you believe that bowling is obviously a great community activity. It involves all age brackets. And so he wanted to add something in though about something else besides his bowling. And so what he did is he went and Googled what goes well with bowling. And the number one thing that he came across was mini golf. And so the owner said they really wanted to create a facility that multiple groups of people can use on a regular basis throughout the entire year. I'm just like curious in general what articles he would have come across. I've rarely actually see bowling mixed with mini golf, frankly. Typically you'll see, bowling in arcades or bowling and laser tag or something else. I mean, yes, mini golf can be a part of that, but that's not typically like the number one thing that goes with bowling, other than the fact that, look, it is accessible and it is something that all ages can play typically. And so that's great. But this is the instantiation of the mini golf that they did. Actually, I'll make it a little bit bigger here. So it looks like it was just in an extra room. It's interesting. I don't know how a lot of groups are going to be in there all at once. It looks like there's a single door. It looks like this was put into like a church basement classroom or something like that. And, I think just the reason I'm showing this is not to just, pick at it or make fun. I mean, that's the reason why I'm not actually giving the name of the facility. But, a couple of things I just wanted to call out here. First of all, I do really like the idea of the bowling balls actually as the obstructions for the mini golf for the actual golf ball. I thought that was actually really creative. And I think that they maybe could have done that on a couple of holes or like every other few holes and then try to add in a few other things instead of just all bowling balls as the main obstructions for the 9-hole course. But look, they did a great job. I mean, it looks clean. It looks nice. And the problem is like, there's no place to put drinks. Like these are all the standard things that you find in many mini golf places. You want a place for you to put drinks. It doesn't have to be an alcoholic drink. It could be literally a soda, but that people are going to put them on the floor and then they're going to kick them and knock them over and kids are going to be running around. And in a tight place like this, in a tight space, like where is everybody queuing and standing? And like, as you're moving through, are you going to only let a couple of groups in at once? Like this is going to be a major problem with guest flow. And my guess is they probably didn't put like 20 people in this room, all playing mini golf, like 5 groups of 4. They probably didn't run into that. And so again, this is one of the things you want to test is what does your guest flow look like? And are people going to be bumping into each other and running into each other? And then just in general, I probably would have just tried to do some like colored lighting, maybe do some paints or hang some things on the walls. Like it's just stale white. And, maybe they're going to do that down the line. But anyway, I wanted to bring this up because this is something that, when you're looking to add additions, you want to look at things holistically, not just say, okay, we're going to put in mini golf and we have enough space to put in 9 holes. Like let's cram 9 fucking holes in one room instead of like actually thinking about what that flow looked like. Maybe they could have done 6 holes or 7 holes. It still would have been a great experience. Maybe charge $1 less for the experience instead of 9 holes, but now you've got a better guest experience because you have room for people to move around and not bump into each other and trip over the balls that are, all over the place. So anyway, I wanted to bring this up just as something that I think is a good learning exercise for us to see. Sometimes it's always good to see things that are done really well, and it's also time to see things where we could make improvements. So I wanted to bring that up. All right. It seems to be a mini golf theme as well today. So we have the mini masters. So I really liked this idea. And this mini masters concept is actually done in, it's basically a place called Market Street in Linfield in North Shore. And golf enthusiasts of all ages can basically play their own version of the mini masters tournament. Now, obviously the masters tournament is coming up. And so they hold it like it's just a pop-up mini golf course. It is not like in a normal place. It's part of their putt and play experience at the Market Street in Linfield. They do it during the April vacation week, so like their version of spring break. And so the first week is in honor of the Masters tournament, and it's what they would call a one-of-a-kind mini golf experience. There's 9 holes. It has an iconic Route 1, orange dinosaur, and a hole with the JP Licks theme. I don't know who JP Licks is. Maybe he's a golfer. I don't watch golf, but anyway, so, but what is cool is that they're doing this during, obviously a week. It goes from noon to 4 p.m. For the Little Tykes, and it's April 21st to the 27th. And the price is $7 to play the 9 holes, but all proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club of Metro North. And so, again, it's a charity thing. They're not trying to make money from it. And it's obviously just a little pop-up thing, but they've done a good job tying it together with the Masters. And so if you've got a mini golf course, one of the things you could do is have like a little mini Masters tournament that you run. They actually have an adults only 21 and up for a fun night out. And they have it, they call it Mini Masters After Dark. There's a beer garden that they set up from a local brewery, from Notch Brewing. And they're doing that on April 24th from 5 to 8. So great time to come out. So again, all things that could be done if you've got a mini golf course, or even if you've got some space and you want to do a pop-up mini golf course, just to drive that repeat visitation, right? This is what you're trying to do. You've already got that mini golf course, so run different events and things, and you might as well tie into the Masters tournament and do a little mini Masters thing. So anyway, I just thought that was worth mentioning. That wraps up our news you should know. Coming up next, we have Open and Shut with Kevin Williams. We'll see you on the other side. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
Hey, big hello, and another open and shut to go into. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing well. Yeah, ready to roll here.
Well, we got quite a lot of them, about 21, 22, 23, 24 of these lovely openings. Of course, we picked the best for discussion. Not saying they are the ultimate best, but obviously they carry a point for us. But please argue with us in the comments if you think we should be dealing with any of the other ones. And pause the video as I zoom through about the ones I don't mention. But anyway, jumping straight in, and we're seeing a major investment in what I call active entertainment facilities opening now. Now, of course, this is the build up towards Easter, and obviously these venues have targeted themselves to be open. I'm not sure if I have statistical data that tells me if Easter is a good time for active entertainment, or is it just the period before the holidays, allowing them to get their facilities up and running and rolling. But our friends at SkyZone threw up another venue in Texas. They have over 300 facilities dotted around the place. It is just an amazing operation now, especially with the news that they're going to be opening another 40 venues this year planned.
Yeah, this is insane. These guys can't stop their growth, and I mean, they do at least continue to evolve a little bit. Their attraction mix as they open up new locations, and some of the older franchisees are trying to revive their older. SkyZone has been around for nearly 20 years, more or less to help to define the trampoline park and adventure park industry. But yeah, these guys are on a just complete tear to just keep growing.
It'll be interesting to see at what point they're going to have to revisit their venues and upgrade them for the changes that have happened in active entertainment. Another major player, though not to the same number of facilities, thrown open their New Jersey site. I seem to be saying Jersey a lot recently regarding new venue openings. The catchment area there must be very choice. Interesting thing about launch is that they are kind of an example of the modernization of the active entertainment environment, where they're adding a lot more amusement and ninja courses and virtual reality to their mix, rather than just being a pure active entertainment facility within their 26 chains.
Yeah, this is another group that we've seen begin to expand very quickly, and they sat docile for quite some time. And I don't know if what changed inside internally. I mean, they are a franchise, right? So they're not opening these as corporate locations.
They're all franchises. They did go through a management change, and they also went through a branding change. And they've just announced that they have another 8 facilities that they're proposing to open this year. Another one, AirHop. The reason why I'm focusing on these active entertainment facilities is because of the crossover into what I would say is a more social engagement kind of experience, and a more entertainment, amusement, and attractions-based experience. But again, this one in the UK, Wrexham, they have 18 in their chain, which is considered quite a large chain, but they're part of a larger operation that has about 68 different types of entertainment facility. The idea that you can roll these facilities out like cookie cutters is one thing, but trying to retain the audience to build a loyal repeat visitation is one of those things that stupefies me really about how it can be achieved effectively.
Yeah, especially when you have what I thought was Activion, but it's actually Activon. Yeah, but they have multiple brands, like as you mentioned, but they're all in the trampoline park, adventure park space. And the fact that they haven't created some sort of consistent, cohesive brand across them all is a bit of a head scratcher. They have 6 brands, and some of those brands have just one park. So clearly they're going and acquiring multiple brands and bringing them together. But I would think you'd want to, at some point, create some cohesion in brands so it can streamline your operations.
This is true amongst all of the large operations, that some level of cohesion and narrative is going to be needed if they're going to survive, or eaten piecemeal if they don't. Inflator Nation, love the name. Again, another UK operation opening up in Hull, part of an 11 facility chain. And this one is also pivoting away from just the trampoline and the inflatables to also include entertainment. And then we have, interestingly, a Ukrainian new opening, quite a large site for the area, aiming not just at the trampolines, but also has the kid mazes and the ninja parks, and console gaming. Those are console booths where they can play consumer games with some amusement. I am not sure if this is going to be the beginning of a chain for their operation, but we wish them a lot of luck in a very troubled location at the moment.
Yeah, and I will, if you don't mind, I'm going to just share my screen real quick, because this one was fascinating to me, and you can't see super well. Maybe I can zoom in here, but some pretty heavy theming and styling in their venue. So. Here's like a little mini go-kart space, but I mean, beyond just some trampolines and some carousels and everything else, they've done quite a bit to really draw in the theme. Clearly still targeting the young kids. Like, all the pictures have young kids, even in an arcade. They've got these mascots that are pretty unique as well. So anyway, this is definitely taking it to the next level from an adventure park and action, active play environment. But it is good to see that they're at least really staying connected to the theme, even to the flowers up on the top for their lighting.
It isn't just a black ceiling and hopes no one's looking up. No, and I think you touched the nail on the head. It is a themed environment, active entertainment and venture experience that they're going for. Again, I'm beginning to wonder the investment that's gone into this, if they're not looking at a wider rollout across the country, if not wider aspects of Central Europe. Moving on, and a surprise one here. The gamification and the technology is very low scale here, but bingo has been on my card, pardon the pun, for some time as being one of those social entertainment activities that is due to be brought into the competitive socializing mix. There are a couple of attempts that have been made over the years, but the most successful so far is Bongo's bingo. And the latest one is opening up in Derby, in the UK. It's part of a 50 facility chain in the UK as well as the US. There are some examples of this in the US. It's more a live performance experience with a bingo game attached to it. And it's a lot more about the cocktails, the social engagement, and the live stage performances than it is about the game of bingo. But it is an important exemplar of how bingo can be brought into this period of social amazement. Yeah, got to keep the clean photos. It looks like it gets a bit raucous. So
yeah, it does definitely looks like it gets raucous. Yeah, this is pretty incredible. For those of you who are listening, we're watching a video just on their main website, bongosbingo.co.uk, and it's just their bumper, their trailer. But yeah, this is different than I was recently just driving past a location. It's a restaurant / bar, and they have a bingo night, but they were very clear to say, not your father's bingo. So my guess is they're trying to make it a little bit like this, but no, this is a production. This is pretty insane for some bingo.
One of the competitive socializing companies out there has been experimenting with their interpretation of a bingo experience. But I think that this kind of raucous, Mamma Mia dinner kind of experience is the only way to go for the market's needs. Anyway, moving on and talking about Cinetainment, only a couple of days since Cinecon finished. A lot of developments on the Cinecon show floor, developments that have also had reverberations, which we'll be talking about, I'm sure, in the sound off. But one of the companies or cinema chains that is really ramping up their investment in the sector is Roadhouse Cinema, and they've added a new entertainment component to complement the local cinema that they have there. Roadies is the name of this particular one. Their other venue goes under a different name, so they haven't really conjoined a dedicated brand. I think they've just come up with a formula that they feel comfortable with. But this has a bit of everything within the 30,000 square. The axe throwing, the 14 lanes of it looks string bowling to me when I was looking at the video. Crazy darts, interactive dart systems, but they also have the live music, which seems to be an aspect here, along with the F&B and some amusement. And again, we're seeing at this Arizona site is taking over a previous Bath and Beyond department store. So following on from some of the aspects that we were touching on previously.
Yeah, so it does look like, by the way, Roadies is using the Brunswick Spark immersive bowling.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
So I mean, it may be obviously string pin, but it's going to be full lanes, right? It's not going to be the duck pin bowling.
No, it's not going to be duck pin. It's going to be the social, or it's going to be a higher level. But yeah,
yep, exactly.
It's got a Spark system.
But yeah, I mean, this is great to see. They actually have the Lasertron axe throwing as well, so it's the immersive axe throwing. This is good to see. I know the owners behind Roadhouse Cinemas. They've been talking about building or doing some adding some entertainment to their cinemas as well. And so it's good to see that this is actually happening, that they happen to be right next door to a Bed Bath & Beyond that went out. Some of their other locations don't have as convenient location that they could just go and build out separately. So I do like to play on words, Roadhouse cinemas with roadies, roadies obviously being a drink that you can take with you from a bar, you can take a roadie to go. So I like what they've done here.
Cinemartainment. Moving on, and interesting in the Philadelphia area, we're seeing the franchise attack of the franchises, and this is something that you're going to be hearing me a lot talk about in future opens and shuts, where the main corporation has started the ball rolling, but it is now the franchisees that are taking territories. They're taking specific areas and they're populating them with multiple entertainment offerings. So we have here in one part of the building a sandbox VR setup, but our friends at LOL Entertainment have also acquired a time mission franchise deal, so they will be opening a mission room or escape room kind of experience within this area, this hub. Let's go with hub. That's part of the Philadelphia's reinvigoration. They're putting a lot of investment into urban renewal in that particular area, and the attracted audience is hoping to be sucked into these two venues. No word yet if the Sandbox VR venue will have a robot.
Yeah, this is congrats to the guys over at LOL Entertainment, friends of mine as well. So apparently, some of my friends have been busy this week, but the opening of Time Mission, this is one of their first locations, and they're going to be opening many across the U.S. here.
The Time Mission experience isn't particular to the US. In Germany, we have the opening of a 2,000 square meter facility, which is an interesting one. It is the mission room experience, but it also has a 4D theater set up, VR attractions, some amusement, and refreshments. It's based on the Kimber Jumper board game. I'm not familiar with it. I had to do some research in looking into this facility, but the KJ, what it stands for, is an adventure environment with entertainment as well as the mission rooms. And again, this looks to be a concept which is about to be rolled out. I'm not sure how much the board game owners are steering this, or if this is just a brand utilizing the property. And again, escape rooming, an aspect of the business is that a lot of escape rooms are reinventing themselves, redeveloping themselves after a period of expansion in the market. They're now trying to keep their audience, and some of those are pivoting towards adding secondary entertainment, as we've talked about before. And Escape Labs in Paris decided to parachute in a Delusions VR free roam arena setup there. So they have both the escape game VR as well as some other VR game experiences alongside their escape rooms.
Yeah, the escape game VR, I've always struggled with. I like the, obviously some of the free roam VR, but the escape room VR is something that I've struggled with as far as an out of home thing. I feel like that's something that you can do very much in home. But anyway, this one I struggle with this concept and wonder how long it can really drive repeat visitation.
I've seen RVI, who are one of those companies that has quite a library of VR escape games. The benefit from these are that they are multiplayer experiences, where if you do the escape gaming on the home systems, you're all on your lonesome. Here you have the social interaction, which adds a different level of engagement. I've heard good things from revenue generation using the VR escape game experiences. They are one of the long stays of the sector, but as you say, how long they stay strong is very dependent on their operation. And then finally, another a mission room escape game experience. This one opening up in City Walk in Los Angeles, part of the Escapology chain. Again, another large chain with over 470 facilities out there. That's a lot of escape games. I know they've acquired a number and have pivoted towards them. Escapology is also renowned for using IP in some of their escape rooms and going for as much automation as possible to create a seamless turnaround. But the City Walk location is an interesting one for me. I used to live in near there and have seen a lot of entertainment facilities come and go through City Walk. So this is the latest, so we say, social entertainment addition to the area. An area that is under evaluation for expansion by Universal as they look towards their next phase following the work they've been doing in Orlando with the Epic Universe. And then we go to not shuts, but layoffs. And quite an important one. We're beginning to see the first of the large entertainment chains undertaking quite considerable layoffs of their core management. We've already talked about in a sound off about Dave Buster seeing quite considerable departures from their top management. Well, the Magic Makers, Merlin's equivalent to Disney Imagineers, they in Florida have seen 31 of their team removed, just as they're now pivoting towards coming up with an argument against Epic Universe. So it seems that it's a restructuring of the operation towards how they're going to come up with the blue sky to defend themselves against what is turning out to be quite an impressive new series of gates that Epic Universe has added. Well, that is it for me. Anything that I missed or you want to point out, Brandon?
No, I was just surprised that we didn't have any. I wasn't ready for no shuts. That kind of threw me off there.
It is a very big surprise. I couldn't find any on our radar. But it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just means that the companies in question have managed to hide it well.
Yeah. That's a good point. Fair point. All right. Yeah. No. Everything else is great.
Well, I'd like to say to everyone, have a good one, and we'll see you in the next Open Shut.
All right. Well, coming up next, we've got promo pro tips with Chuck DeMonte. Let's hear it from Chuck.
Hello and welcome to Promo Pro Tips with Chuck DeMonte. That is me. And today I want to discuss, as a marketing agency for location-based entertainment brands, I want to discuss the top 6 things you should be looking at and considering when potentially going to work with a marketing agency. Okay. So first and foremost, I think it's important to have experience in location-based entertainment. So we niched down about 2 years ago to only serve location-based entertainment brands, and that does give us a leg up, okay? We know the pain points of location-based entertainment brands. We know what strategies have worked the best. We know what, we continue to be able to optimize those strategies. Now, do you need somebody that only does, location-based entertainment brands? Maybe not, right? We could argue that maybe either way, but they should have some experience in there. There is really important. And I give a good example of this. When we were working for different companies, we had a personal injury attorney that we were trying to get leads for. Okay. And we were doing Google and our Google ads and our Google ads team is really, really, really good. They know Google ads extremely well. Okay. However, we just were not producing the results for this. So we found somebody that came in to consult us that only did Google ads for personal injury attorneys. Within a couple of days, it changed everything, right? We were getting leads at a good cost and all that. It's like he knew the exact structures to look like to work for this industry, okay? So that in and of itself is why it's important to know the industry that they're working in, okay? So that's number one. Number two, they should have a proven track record, right? They've worked at previous, similar locations, trampoline parks, or if you're a bar with an arcade or a go-kart, like whatever it is, right? They have experience working with other brands and a proven track record with driving success for them. Okay, get a case study from them, get testimonials, whatever that might be. Contact clients, right? Get some references. Right. So proven track record, number two. Number three, they have some sort of method. OK, there's a rhyme and a reason to what they do and why they do it. Right. They're not going to put out strategies for the sake of doing a strategy or doing email marketing for the sake of doing email marketing. They're doing automations in order for you to get birthday bookings and understand how that attaches to your waivers, right? There's a method to their madness and there's an objective that they're trying to reach, right? They're not just, like I said, just doing strategies just for the sake of it and just seeing what works. Again, that goes back to sort of the experience thing, right? Knowing what works, and they have a method that they use to improve your marketing. 4, now this one's huge. It's crazy to me when I speak to current clients and potentially new clients and their current agency. It's like they barely speak to them, right? Or they're not really communicating with them much. So number 4 is communication. You should be in pretty frequent and often communication with them and what's going on and what are your strategies doing and all that other stuff, right? It's like if you need something or if they need something, right? The communication is big. Well, we try and make our clients try and have strategies that could work autonomously, meaning, I don't need a lot of back and forth with clients, right? I don't want to have to rely on them for us to do our job. There is a dance though. There is a partnership that happens there. Okay. It's your business. You know what's going on there. You need to communicate those things to your market agency. They need to communicate things to you and back and forth, right? So communication is absolutely gigantic. Okay. So communication, number 4. Number 5, reporting. You should know exactly what's going on. What are the results that are driving from your marketing? Okay. If they're just doing social media content for you, are they improving followers? Are you getting more impressions, more engagement, right? What does that look like? If they're doing Google ads, how much are you spending? Are you getting conversions? Are you even tracking conversions? What does that look like, right? Facebook ads, so on and so forth. You should have reporting. I like to go over that reporting with clients month in and month out so they really understand what they're looking at and understand what we're trying to achieve and what the objective is. There are times for sure. I like to say most of the time we help clients and improve their marketing and get them more revenue. But there are some things, there's more to the market. There's more to business success than just marketing. There are times when, things are not hitting the mark for multiple reasons, right? But between reporting and communication, we could pinpoint what's going on and maybe what's not succeeding and change, and try and improve what we're doing, right? Which brings me to my final and 6th point, optimization. Right? If they are not constantly trying to improve or optimize or picking things out that were working, that are not working, or how to improve strategies, that's a problem. You can't just sort of set marketing strategies and forget them and never change them ever again, right? So optimization is super important. But again, you can't really have optimization without reporting. So just a quick recap, the 6 things. Experience working with location entertainment brands, really important. Proven track record. They've done this before. They can do it for you. Having a method, right? They're not just doing marketing just for the sake of doing marketing or making social media posts just for the sake of making social media posts. There's a reason behind why they do that. Number 4, communication. They're in constant communication with you when needed, right? And you're in communication with them. Super important. Number 5, reporting. How do you know what's going on? How do you know what's working? Okay. And number 6, using that reporting to optimize. So hopefully that helps you, improve or, any agency you're working with or hire an agency. And if you want to reach out to us, we're always happy to have a conversation.
All right. Well, all good stuff. Thank you so much for that, Chuck. Hopefully you guys were able to take away some good points. And you know what? Next up, we've got Arcade Corner with Adam Pratt, and we're going to dig into that whole deal going on with Genda and Player One.
Greetings, it's Adam for the LBX Collective with ArcadeHeroes.com, and here at the Arcade Corner, I'm here to get you up to speed on what's going on in the arcade world. Now, of course, as discussed in last week's Arcade Corner, the talk of said world has mostly been about tariffs lately, as I believe I mentioned. I can't remember everything that I said last time, but I'm not one to panic and jump out the window the moment that things look like they'll be tough. And at least from when I'm recording this, things were looking up on certain things, at least with the stock market. But of course, as somebody who's owned and operated an arcade for almost 18 years now, I guess I've been somewhat insulated from such fluctuations as far as I don't own or operate a redemption desk. So I don't have to worry about importing toys and things of that nature. And so I'm just operating off of pure amusement experiences, then it doesn't really affect me. And of course, when it comes to purchasing new equipment, well, I mean, that's where it could. Does depend on what you're getting. And of course, yes, even with certain games that are made in the States, there can be effects from certain parts that they get and whatnot. But I mean, so far, I haven't heard of any price jumps, but sometimes things like that can take a while to ripple through the supply chain. But I also have the feeling that used sales could be become more important than perhaps they usually are, just depending on the game and such. Like right now, or I've been hearing for a while, that Guitar Hero Arcade has been a super hot item. Even though that game came out in 2009, it's more valuable now than ever because everybody wants to play it, because it doesn't exist on consoles anymore. None of the modern consoles have Guitar Hero on them, and so in that sense, it's become kind of this classic game, but it's not. The arcade version wouldn't be competing with the home version. But there still are some new games out there, and this week there was a trailer for the new Soda Slam, which was seen at a Amusement Expo 2025. I'll play this without the sound so you can hear me what I'm saying, because otherwise it'll be a little overpowering, but it's got this kind of jazzy song. But you can find this on the Alan One YouTube channel if you want to hear it with the fun music and such. But this is just a quick trailer to promote this game, which will begin shipping in June, and this one is being built in the United States. I'm in the same state where it is being made, and so I haven't been able to visit that factory with this in it since, I mean, last time was there been a few months and they weren't working on it yet. But yeah, this one is a US made game. Now, the cans on the sides, those actually come from a fiberglass manufacturer down in Las Vegas. However, Alan One has made clear that there will be a version without cans. And so that was something that I think came up a lot at the Amusement Expo event, but this, of course, it will be competing with Baytek's Icy Slush Rush, which that one, as far as I know, that's beginning to ship out now. I could be incorrect about that, but the Icy Slush Rush will be gaining a leg up on that, I would suppose. But let's see what else is out there as far as new announcements goes. Pinball, there's some news on pinball right now as far as today or this week. You had Stern Pinball announcing that they were doing a new Vault Edition for Rush Pinball. So if you had missed out on the Rush game, then you can grab their Vault Edition, which will just I didn't catch all the details on that, but generally speaking, the Vault Editions are essentially like a pro, and just giving those a chance who had missed out on a previous game the chance to add it to their collection or their game room. Again, personally, I would really like them to do a Tron Legacy one again, but perhaps they're waiting, as there is the new Tron movie coming along, Tron Ares, which I guess, don't know, maybe that would be worth watching here. As I mean, Tron is what the original Tron got me into this industry, but when Tron Legacy came out in 2011, 2012, somewhere around there, Disney did a big collaboration with arcades. They even created this Flynn's arcade replica at the San Diego Comic-Con. And they came up with the Space Paranoids game. Later on, when they did Wreck-It Ralph, they also did a Fix-It Felix game and created a bunch of working prop games for that. I haven't seen the Space Paranoids game anywhere around, but this time with the new Tron Ares, so far the marketing's pretty muted. They have their D23 event that they did, and that's where they did do something there with the actor Jeff Bridges. But there wasn't anything about arcades talked about then, and so far when the trailer came out, there's no showing whatsoever of any arcades or Flynn's in that trailer there, which is disappointing to me. And like I said, when Legacy came out, there was a months long, like 2-3 months long campaign about arcades, and they had all sorts of cool stuff going on, and this time nothing. So I don't know, maybe we won't get any arcade action out of Tron Ares. But anyways, hopefully Stern is able to do a Tron Vault edition, a Tron Legacy Vault edition, or maybe they're planning on doing a new Tron Ares pinball, who knows. But also the other big news, I mean, this hasn't been revealed yet is when I'm recording this, but Jersey Jack Pinball has officially really announced the Harry Potter pinball. Now, again, they've only announced that it exists. They've announced pricing on it, but they have not shown what the game looks like yet. There are 3 versions. Interestingly enough, that does break a little bit from what they've done the past couple or few times, like Toy Story 4 and I think Godfather and Avatar. They only had 2 editions, and it would start at $12,000, and then that other edition, the collector's edition, would be $15,000. And I know a few operators that had picked up like a Toy Story, but and said that it was doing well, but just to me, it's really hard to justify a $12,000 pinball machine, because at $8,000, they're already very hard to justify, as the ROI is just crazy on them, and they're not always easy to sell. I've been trying to sell a Mandalorian pinball machine, and I've not been getting many bites on that so far. But Harry Potter is coming, so stay tuned to news on that one. It still has a pretty big fan base and everything, and so looking forward to seeing what this can do in pinball. The other thing that is going to or the other thing in the news is not a product, it's something else that is of pretty good interest, pretty strong interest to our industry, and that would be this news that hit this week of Genda acquires Player One Amusement Group. Now, if you're watching this, chances are you are familiar with Player One Amusement Group, as they are a distributor as well as an operator based out of Toronto, Canada. And they're in a conglomerate of 6 different companies. But at least from what I've seen and interacted with them before, they've generally just been serving as a distributor. I wasn't aware until this news came along that they actually had been operating a bunch of locations out there. I know that they had been involved with Cineplex Starburst, or that Cineplex Starburst is still has some sort of share of the company, but I don't know all of the details. I don't really know anybody within Player One Amusement Group or Genda. But if you're not familiar with Genda, that's actually a Japanese company started in 2018, and they've been growing rapidly. And in fact, when Sega decided to sell off all of their arcade operations in Japan back in 2021 or so, it was Genda that they sold them to, and Genda rebranded the arcades. Now, they did close down some of them. There was a very big story about this particular Sega arcade that was super famous in Tokyo that they shut down or rebranded, or there was a few things like that. But they've been expanding, and if you go to their website, you can actually find that they have a ton of information as to all these acquisitions, and they've been acquiring one place after the other. And so they've actually been doing acquisitions here in the States, in North America. Pac-Man Entertainment is one that they grabbed. They acquired National Entertainment Network, or NEN. And then prior to that, NEN had acquired Namco, or I think a third of Namco USA's locations. And they've acquired a bunch of other stuff. They've been developing their own games. And so now they've acquired Player One Amusement Group. Now, I wasn't also aware of this until the story broke this week that that Player One was also operating, it says 104 game centers and 2,000 mini locations. Now, I was aware of, or I guess it was more NEN that I was aware of, as far as them operating some of the little arcades out there in Walmarts. But very interesting that they've made this move into the US market, because it not only adds more locations to their repertoire, but also the ability to distribute games into the States. And the CEO of Genda did elaborate on X as to what their strategy is here. And according to the translation from X, he said, in response to the current U.S. tariff issue, first of all, we believe the current environment is a great tailwind for Genda, which has M&A as its growth strategy. As the valuations of potential M&A targets fall, we believe that we'll have more and more good opportunities in the future. And so it talks about some impacts on tariffs and such. But the most interesting part to me is the end here, where it mentions that, however, we're not going to do nothing, we'll implement a number of measures to reduce the amount of the negative impact, such as producing game consoles in the U.S. using factory functions of our U.S. group company NEN, and procuring from countries other than China, where tariffs are relatively low. Now, I was not aware of NEN having any sort of manufacturing capacity, but it's also possible that since they acquired them last year, that they were already starting to develop those capacities. Again, I had mentioned that they had already built their own games in Japan, as Genda had. But what is it that they're going to be building here in the US? I'm not 100% sure. Now, Genda, one of the big things that they do with their arcades in Japan are crane machines. I wouldn't be surprised that, since a lot of crane machines come out of China, that and that's what they mean when they say producing game consoles. They don't mean like Nintendo Switches or anything like that. They're talking about other things, such as these arcade machines, particularly cranes, I would think. But also, being a distributor, that also could mean that they could be bringing more Japanese games into the US and competing directly with Round One USA. As far as I know, Genda has a pretty good relationship with Konami. And so Konami was making moves at IAPA 2024 looking for distribution networks. And so perhaps that's one of those things that is going to come to fruition. And so perhaps we could see DDR getting some official acknowledgement and sales here in the States again, as opposed to imports. But that's the real big news of the week. Very, very interesting to see what, or will be interesting to see what comes out of that. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next Arcade Corner.
If you run a location-based entertainment brand and want to attract more visitors, check out Radius. They use real-time location data and customized marketing strategies to help brands like yours stand out. Radius can boost your foot traffic and build a loyal customer base. Plus, they're offering a complimentary local market analysis to show you exactly how they can help you grow. Curious? Visit radius.co and ask about your free market analysis. That's RAYDIUS.co.
All right. Well, Adam says Genda. I say Genda. Adam is probably right, actually. So, this is like maybe the GIF and the GIF, the Giphy, the GIF, the GIF whole thing. And I've always been a GIF guy. I know that's been controversial. I think even the creator of GIF said that it's GIFs. So, but I've always said GIF. But you know what? Look, I'm going to say Genda from now on because that's what Adam says. Even though I said Genda earlier in the show, but we're going to go with Genda going forward. So, thanks, Adam, for that breakdown of everything going on right now in the arcade world. Next up, we got Guest Gab with Kevin Williams, who you know, but we're going to actually dig in and talk a little bit about tariffs and the impact it's having on this industry. So let's dig in. All right. Well, welcome, Kevin. We're doing a little Guest Gab, even though you're not a guest here very often, but this is it is a standalone topic. So we're think we do a little segment on our favorite T word.
Yes, tariffs. We find ourselves in an interesting position as an industry where, like many other industries, we're evaluating how much the current confusion in tariffs is going to impact us. I've created these slides which hopefully touch upon the 6 or 7 key areas that we need to be mindful of as an industry. It is a shame that this is such a fast-moving subject that things change per hour, let alone per day. When this slide deck was created, we were beginning the process of seeing, it was the Wednesday when the Independence Day had been written, and we were feeling the effects, only for under 24 hours to pass, and then we see a complete pivot and a change in that. But the fundamentals are still there. We are seeing a considerable tariff placed upon China, Canada, and Mexico, as well as Europe, with other countries' tariffs now in limbo for 90 days towards renegotiation and possible change. But we have seen the impact on the markets, and no matter which way you cut it, the confusion that this has caused has wiped off billions from the markets and will result, no matter what happens next, in impacts.
Yeah, it is not so much even the tariffs themselves, but the way that they have been implemented and rolled out and pulled back. It completely removes the ability of any business to do any sort of meaningful planning whatsoever, because they don't know what's coming around the corner literally within hours of the next day, or hours of the same day. They just do not know what is coming down the line. And this has been one of the biggest damaging impacts to just one of, businesses being able to plan, let alone to obviously the stock market, et cetera.
Business is not confusion. And it is not 3D chess to keep people wrong-footed, especially the money markets. And as we saw with the crashing of the bonds, the US bond market, it is very dangerous to do those type of things. Firing from the hip and using social media to make policy decisions for the global market can result in chaos and confusion. But from a amusement and theme park and entertainment industry point of view, we have seen companies and operations start to pivot towards embracing the tariff landscape which we inherit. The Made in America sticker has started to appear on certain products and on certain websites, and certain sweetheart deals are now being offered by distributors in certain territories. Here we have round one. Interesting that it's round one and
Player One.
Sorry, Player One. I always do round one. I'm sorry. That film and book is dented into my brain cell. The Player One operation themselves have experienced the tariff environment by a merger and acquisition with Genda, but we will talk about that in greater detail in the coming sound off. But the point I wanted to make here is that they are promoting that for their Canadian customers, they have products in their warehouse that are tariff free because they have been populating their warehouse long before the new tariff taxation, as it were, was applied to them. That is also impacting the release and distribution of products. Certain products in the entertainment sector that was scheduled to be imported or exported to certain territories now are under evaluation. And I've already seen in the consumer sector certain companies saying that certain products that they've been showing at toy shows or at video game shows that they had intended to launch onto the market, the US market now are being looked at again because they have been rendered as uneconomic. The price that they would have to sell the product with the additions of the tariffs, no matter which variant they go with, would put them out of a price point that they feel that their customer base would want to purchase.
Yeah, and Player One isn't the only distributor to send out marketing information about the inventory that they have on hand that is quote unquote tariff free. All this means is they have big warehouses, and now they're using this as a way to basically clear out their warehouses. It's a they have to do something, right? Because they can't bring in new stuff, but at least not economically. But it also, I would caution an operator from going and buying, either buying or deploying a bunch of stuff just because they want to get it, because maybe they can get it on the cheap, but it's 5 years old, 7 years old, and it's not one of the new machines as well with some of the new IP, etc.
There may be a reason why that particular product has been sitting at the back of the warehouse for the last 5 years unsold.
Yes.
Talking about the back of the warehouse, once you've cleared the warehouse of your stock, you then need to repopulate. And so all of the products that are on the sea right now are going to be tariff inclusions, but all of the new products that are going to be shipped going forward from this point will now have the new levels of tariff. At the same time, that includes the spare parts for the existing products, as well as the services and supply and support that those products are going to need. And finally, the merch, the prizes, from the keychain to the fluffy toy, all of these will be impacted. And as we know, the majority of these are winging their way from China or from Asia. That 104% tariff addition is going to be eye-watering to the price of the products that we're putting into our facilities.
Yeah, well, it's 125% now.
Yes, of course.
Which is unbelievable.
And going to change again and again and again. Sadly, it looks that we have started a trade war with China, and it's going to take level heads to try and de-escalate this, where it doesn't get totally out of control and it makes it totally uneconomic to utilize products from Asia. And we as an industry are quite dependent on Asia. I have Wallap up there. They are a major manufacturer of amusement products in their own right in their home territories, but they also make machines for, and the list goes on, Betts, Raw Thrills, Play Mechanics, Sega, Bandai, Adrenaline, Andamiro, and the list goes on and on. They are a major manufacturer of amusement products that are shipped from China to the North American market, as well as the European market. How that can be rectified with a 120% tariff on top will be an interesting argument, and one we are going to be hearing the results of very soon. At the same time, we have to be thinking about other manufacturers out there. Ace Amusement, fantastic new developer of redemption and amusement pieces, who are distributed by the likes of UDC and Amusement Source and ASI. And they have sold, right now, the Deal show in Dubai is taking place, and a large number of Ace amusement products are there, and I'm sure they're being sold avidly. All of this now will be impacted directly or indirectly by the tariff. The last company there that I've got, if you zoom in, you'll actually see it's Genda. That's their head offices in Japan. And Japan has been hit also with tariffs. But it's interesting from Genda's point of view that they have been proactive regarding their positioning. They have now pivoted towards looking to manufacture product in the US. Genda hasn't been shipping out a lot of original amusement pieces lately they have quite a large operation, but recently they acquired NEN, a national network, and they've just taken ownership. The deal will be finalized in June, but it was announced this week that they've taken on Player One, and that will give them access to the Canadian manufacturing and distribution, as well as their North American operation. And the NEN side will give them access to the North American or the American warehousing and manufacturing capability. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Genda leverages that new position in this current climate. Then we go really to the impacts on the markets. We've seen, as some people were saying on the BBC News, it's been like a roller coaster, one you wouldn't want to ride on because it would make you very sick. Incredible drops and incredible rises. And even with the announcement of the pivot to the 90-day stay of execution on some of these tariffs for some of these operations, the markets still seem to be fluctuating and trying to define themselves. That has an impact on the share market. I've already commented on the impact that it has on the bond market. And more importantly, it has an impact on investment. And we've seen the impact on investment that this has caused by Chuck E. Cheese, who is trying to raise, I think, about 600 million for redevelopment and franchise build out and growth of their business, finding it difficult to find investors to actually purchase the bonds that they were raising towards supporting this effort. And so for a lot of operations that have projects that were looking for investment moving forward, the conditions that we find ourselves in are going to be less advantageous towards that investment.
Yeah. And it's not just investment by investment firms into attraction manufacturers or experiences like Chuck E. Cheese, but it is investment that the consumer is making into their lifestyle above and beyond what they need to purchase for their home and just for living in general. And so this is where the volatility of the market, the volatility of the actions being taken here are really, while it may be impacting some stock portfolios positively or negatively up and down, and there's that roller coaster, where it really is impacting is in consumer confidence and consumers just sitting out and saying, well, maybe I'm not going to go take my kid to Chuck E. Cheese this week, and we're just going to make a frozen pizza at home, right? Or something like that, instead of going and doing the things that we want, because they're just going to wait. The same reason why businesses are just going to wait to place their inventory orders for Christmas or for wherever they need to. They're going to just wait because of the volatility. And when you have too many people just waiting and spending, where do you end up?
That wait and see can be the death knell for operations because, we expect our audiences to come. We expect a level of engagement and investment and support. And if people are sitting on their hands, on their couches, huddled around their TVs watching the Dow Jones, then that is very bad. The phrase staycation, I think we'll be seeing again. Where people, rather than taking that holiday, don't feel comfortable enough to spend that type of money, maybe traveling abroad, so they will have their entertainment closer to home. That is a benefit for our industry, but can have a knock-on indirectly. We're already seeing the politics of this being written in the Canadian market, where the Canadian audience, who usually come to Florida and to other vacationing holiday areas of North of America, have decided against it. And we're hearing from some hoteliers in the Orlando area of the cancellation of expected visitors have dropped quite considerably. So that is a tertiary impact on top of the trade war, on top of the stock and impacted prices that we're going to see. And all of those impacted prices will affect the stuff that we can buy, but also will impact our staff, because our staff will be exposed to these problems as well as our business. And that kind of leads us to the R word. I don't want to get involved in the speculation about whether we're going to be entering a recession. I'm trying to be bullish about this and feel that the last minute pivot away from the precipice may be enough to force the saner minds to try and pull the economic conditions away from that. But I do expect that we are going to be in at least a stagnation spiral for some time. And I do feel that it is up to all of us in the entertainment sector to make sure that the product that we're offering our guests is of a very high level of excellence, to ensure that even in troubled times, we're seen as a safe environment and a welcoming environment to be involved with.
Yeah. I definitely am also going to avoid the recession, given the fact that, look, well, I'm not an economist, and I think there are people who are saying we're certainly pointing in that direction, but things can turn around, as we've already seen just in the last few days. But I will say, to the point that you had about the staycations, I actually think that there's a possibility that we go the other direction, at least for those here in the U.S. Market, where prices are going to go up here domestically for both experiences and products and everything else. And while the dollar remains relatively strong and other currencies are falling against the dollar, it may end up being that my dollar can go further in other countries and other places than it might to actually within my hometown. So it would be interesting to see. I don't know how much we'll see people traveling domestically, but international travel, we might see a small kick up while the dollar remains a little bit strong. So it will be interesting to see how things play out.
That would be a very interesting phenomenon if we actually see people leaving their expensive home markets to go to cheaper shores. It's funny enough, one of the original reasons why international tourism became so popular in the 60s and 70s was that your spending power was greater in other countries. I am mindful that every time we go through these kinds of financial upheavals, there's always a different trend and a different takeaway from them. I'm just hoping that we can weather the storms and come out as a better and stronger economy, having weathered both 2008, COVID, and now the current trade war that we seem to have entered.
Yeah. Well, as always, Kevin, great to have you on. I mean, you're here every week with Open and Shut, but great to have you be able to have a totally separate conversation on the LBX show for Guest Gab. So until the next one. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon. All right. Well, that was a great discussion. So glad to have that. And we're nearly done, but I want to end with a awesome little crowd question. We haven't had this segment in a long time, actually. The last one we had was Luis Martinez. And so great to have this great crowd question come up. And, the question is digital or self-serve redemption, pros and cons. And we've got Justin Michaels here to talk a little bit about that from Intercard. So we're going to hear from him right now. Maybe. Okay. Now we're going to hear from him.
Hi, I'm Justin Michaels with Intercard, and on behalf of LBX, I want to touch on a question today quickly that I've been asked many times over the years. And that question is around digital or self-contained redemption machines versus your standard prize counter or redemption store. The introduction of these machines into the industry was a great thing. It allowed redemption arcades to go into unattended spaces like cruise ships and resorts, and we've seen them do very, very well. The main benefit of the machine is going to revolve around the labor component. Next to restocking or refilling the machine, there's very little labor involved. and you're not required to staff it. Labor is always going to be a big concern of any operator. Where the challenge comes is with product mix and merchandising. You're limited on the size of the product and amount of product that you can put into the machine. With your standard prize counter, you are able to offer a more diverse mix of prizes at different sizes, which lends to better merchandising strategy. And then based on customer feedback, distributor partner feedback, consultant partner feedback, when we've seen similar size footprints with a machine like this versus your standard prize counter store, the counter store is always going to outperform it. And again, I think it comes down to better mix of product, merchandised better, which is in turn is going to get the guest excited to spend a little bit more money, save, and generate repeat business that any operator wants. With that being said, every situation is different. Every space is different. So these machines can be a great solution for you in the right situation. But if you're especially in a larger footprint arcade, allocating the space and budgeting the labor to put in the prize counter or prize store is always going to lead to revenue based on feedback I've received over the years from the customer and industry partners. Appreciate the viewership, and I hope you have a great day.
All right. Well, that was great crowd question answer there, Justin. Thanks so much for doing that. And look, everybody, that is a wrap for this week's LBX show. Stay tuned for Sound Off number 69, actually, with Kevin Williams on Tuesday, April 15th. With that, this is Brandon Wiley signing off. Stay tuned and keep kicking ass.